Hello, I'm Adam Lowenstein. Welcome to News in Depth. Each week, we'll offer a closer look at the stories you need to know about from across Brevard County as we tap into the reporting and expertise of Florida Today's staff writers, editors, and photojournalists. On today's show, we'll get down to work with Brevard Public Schools, which are helping students take advantage of in-house vocational training opportunities that can send them into the real world and its tough job climate a little better prepared. We'll also introduce you to a pastor in Cocoa who just marked 50 years at the same parish. And we'll wing our way to Titusville for a tour of a unique museum featuring some fascinating pieces of aviation history. So many pieces, in fact, that the operators hope to make new room for their growing collection. But first up, a look at the economy from a different perspective, yours. Over the past few months, Florida Today reporters have been visiting with people from different walks of life all across Brevard County to find out how they are taking on the recession and how it's affected their lives. Today, we're going to meet four of them. First is Elizabeth Laylock of Palm Bay, who found a better option than foreclosure for overcoming her growing mortgage payments.
We were doing all right at first. I had it with my goddaughter and her family and myself. And then my daughter in New York came down with breast cancer. And I had to go to New York. When I came back, I paid my part of the mortgage from New York, but my goddaughter got behind in her part. And I was about to pull my hair out because, for one thing, I was so proud that I got the house on my own without her or her husband. And there were agreements that really didn't pass. So I was going nuts. I was calling the mortgage people, trying to get them to give us a decrease in anything so that we could keep the house. And they kept telling us, well, you got to fill out these papers. We didn't go into foreclosure. We went into the short sale, which is a heaven send, because it's not like foreclosure. Foreclosure, when you go into foreclosure, you're like sleep for 6-7 years. And with this, it's 2 years and everything should be cleared up. And we foreclosed, we sold the house January 8th, I believe it was, of this year. They shouldn't have given me a mortgage for the house, even though my daughter was on it. It was there. I don't think they should have given me a mortgage for the house. I was happy to get it, but it was just too much.
Short sales like Laylock's are happening in record numbers across Brevard. There are also a growing number of families dealing with the ebbs and flows of their income. In Titusville, Gina Beckles took a couple of years off after her teaching job ended, but now she's back at work and her family is rebuilding from being a one-income household.
Your children want to go places and do things because, we travel a lot in the summer. We go to Barbados usually for 2 weeks, and usually they'll go to New York City to stay with their grandparents for a while. And just all of that was we just don't have the money. We don't have the money. It's like everything they ask for. It's well, we'll have to see. Cut back here. You don't. We definitely cut back on going out to eat, but mainly travel and just the normal things you spend on disposable income. You just have to eliminate and just kind of stick with mostly necessities.
Lots of families like hers are having to make adjustments in their budgets and reevaluate needs versus wants. In MIMS, the Reverend John Fisher says he's helping parishioners cope with fear and anxiety, and his parish ministries are seeing growing demand for help from the needy.
You can compare and contrast now to other economic downturns in the economy, and you look at the hard numbers. During the Carter years of the 70s, you had double-digit unemployment, you had double-digit inflation, and you had interest rates that were 21, 22%. People could not do anything. Compare that to now. You have interest rates which are very, very low, lowest in history. You can go get a mortgage now for 4%, 4 point something percent, maybe 5. But it's still, I mean, 5, if you qualify, that should have been the case all along. That's part of what got us in here. People were getting qualified for mortgages they should have never been qualified for. What you do see is really more fear than reality. In other words, what I mean by that is I have not seen a bunch of people laid off in my congregation. Now, I've talked to people who have been unemployed outside the parish that come here for assistance. We have had at least a 4-fold increase in the amount of food we've been giving out to families, at least a 4-fold increase. And that's where I'm saying outside the church you probably see more of it than even inside.
The economy these days is an equal opportunity curmudgeon, affecting everyone, and not just those who've lost their jobs or homes. Small businesses are losing revenue as people change their spending habits. Dr. Sam Del Rio in Port St. John has seen this firsthand as patients make tough decisions about where to use their limited resources.
It was a two-hit. What the problem was, well, the recession hit. On top of that, across the board, all insurance companies have raised their copays. So even if you have insurance, your copays have gone up $40, $50 to see the gynecologist if it's a specialist. And so a lot of patients don't want to come in for their annuals. They don't want to come in for problem visits. They want everything handled over the phone. They want their refills over the phone, even though they haven't been here for a year and a half. They want their mammogram prescriptions over the phone. And unfortunately, we may give them, a year, 3 or 4 months, but at some point, we don't, we will not continue refilling the prescriptions. And that's the main reason we've seen it, is that patients come in because they need their birth control, they need their hormone replacement therapy, they need something. And so, yes, maybe grudgingly or so, but they do come in, and unfortunately, they have to pay their copay. That's the main effect for us in our practice that we've seen.
Economists have varying opinions about when things might start to turn around and whether the first baby steps toward recovery may already have happened. Thankfully, many think they have. In the meantime, people, your neighbors and mine, are sharing their stories and their ideas for coping in these tough times. You can read and watch more of them at floridatoday.com. Now, it's onward and upward with a look at some cool aircraft and a little bit of history. The Valiant Air Command Warbird Air Museum in Titusville is packed with vintage planes and great stories. The museum recently got a $200,000 matching grant from the county to expand. We sent Kehlani Best to the museum for a look around and a look ahead at the expansion plans. Buckle up, everyone.
This is Kehlani Best of Florida Today. We are here at the Valiant Air Command Warbird Museum in Titusville, where the museum just received a $200,000 grant from the Tourism Development Commission of the Space Coast to expand. The expansion is expected to cost between $800,000 and $1 million. Museum officials say the expansion was badly needed in order to house more aircraft and in order to add more newness to the museum. Directly behind the C-123 Vietnam-era cargo plane is where museum officials plan to build a brand new 16,000 square foot hangar which will house Vietnam-era aircraft and memorabilia. The museum has been here since 1977 and operates as a non-profit. It hosts an annual air show every spring, which generates anywhere from $300,000 to $500,000 per year into the local economy. Now let's take a peek behind the scenes at some of the museum's facilities and learn a little more about the planned expansion. We're now here inside the main hangar, and we are joined by retired Colonel Terry A. Yawn. Tell me a little bit about the hangar and different planes you have here. And it's pretty crowded, which means that you're pretty much desperately need the expansion.
Exactly. As you can see behind us, we're standing in the middle of this main exhibit hangar. We have aircraft outside as well as in our restoration hangar. We've had to turn down aircraft to be donated to us by private individuals as well as services because we just don't have the additional space needed to be able to house a collection like this. And if you don't get new aircraft in, you sort of die on the vine. You can't attract new members. You can't attract new aircraft. It's a terrific, unique facility located right here in Brevard County, and something that's family oriented, that anyone, whether or not you're a World War II, Korea, Vietnam veteran, would really enjoy coming out and just seeing these aircraft and how they've been restored and lovingly cared for, so that we can help educate the public for the future. And that's one of our missions here.
Thank you very much.
This is phase one of a 4-part series. In the next 10 years, we hope to erect 4 more buildings with a big concrete apron, and maybe even a newer facility that will be glass enclosed and have, be very, very ultra modern. We want people to remember the people that have made sacrifices to make this country what it is. We do not want people to forget what people have made and done for this fine country.
The museum plans to complete the expansion by next year's air show, which is scheduled for March 2010. On another note, during Memorial Day weekend, Brevard County residents and active duty and retired military can come out, take a tour, and be a part of history for free here at the museum. For Florida Today, I'm Kalani Best.
Thanks for that tour, Kehlani. In a county where the school system has placed so much emphasis on academics, it might be surprising to know that students who choose a less traditional route after graduation also are thriving. Name the Occupation, and Brevard Public Schools has a technical program in that field. Education reporter Michelle Spitzer takes us inside some of the programs that help get those students not heading to college ready to go into the workforce.
Hi, I'm Michelle Spitzer, reporting for Today in Brevard outside the school district offices in Viera. It's no secret Brevard County is one of the top districts in the state when it comes to academics. But there's another area the district excels at. As seniors prepare for graduation this week, many of them are already prepared for a career in the real world. 14 of the district's 15 high schools offer some kind of career or technical development education program right on the high school campuses. There are nearly 50 options for students to choose from. They range from culinary arts to early childhood education, dental aid, or auto mechanics. Janice Schultz is a resource teacher with the district's Office of Career and Technical Education. She tells us how Brevard County students have an edge over others, whether they decide to enter the career world or further their education in a particular field.
We believe that a career and technical education program has several purposes. One I mentioned, and that is really getting a feel for this is what I want to do. The other is we hope that you leave with not only the ability to go into the workforce, but also the ability to enter post-secondary education. We know that the majority of jobs require education beyond high school. 85% of them nationally require education beyond high school. So we want our students to be prepared both to enter the workforce, but also prepared to continue their education in whatever post-secondary venue they choose, whether it's the university or whether it's a technical school. We just know that that's what they're going to need to be competitive today.
We took a trip to Melbourne High School's culinary department to see how its kitchen can rival any restaurant's. Let's take a look.
It's whipped cream with some sugar and then melted chocolate. We're going to fold it in. It's going to make the mousse. It's good.
They have the opportunity to learn here without the risk of being ridiculed or fired. They can make mistakes. It's a safe environment, and it gives them the opportunity so when they go out, they can do it again, and they know what they're doing. They're not making the mistakes for the first time. They're not making mistakes. They're hungry. They want to know more. Their knowledge, we give them a good base, but the outside employers need to add into that as well.
Well, since it's with BCC, we get college credits also, so I might be able to save a few classes. I might be able to skip those few classes, which save money for tuition, everything. So I learned a lot more stuff than they probably do. Since Chef doesn't baby us, she tells us what to do and she shows us one time. If you don't get it right, we get in trouble.
I'm making caramel ice cream. You make your ice cream base and then you add in the caramel after it's already hardened, and you let it stir. And then you let it sit while it's stirring. Then you let it sit overnight in the freezer, and then the next day we serve it up and we give it to the teachers because they buy the lunches. This way we get experience like how to make stuff, and the teachers also get to eat it, so we profit from it. If it turns out good, we sell it. If it doesn't, then we don't put it on the menu.
Well, with having certification examinations that are nationwide, the ability to take that and hold a Serve Safe manager certification, that gives them a step up, not only over other students, but over other adults, because not everybody has that opportunity or the drive to get that. Also, when they get out of here, if they decide to go on, certain colleges will give them course credit for having completed this course. They also have the opportunity, if they work in industry as well, to attain the Pro Start Certificate of Achievement, which also will be affixed next year to their diplomas when they graduate. So it gives them a credential, and it makes them have something, a piece of paper that says, I can do this.
I love it. My teacher is a great teacher. She teaches us so many things that I never knew, and she lets us eat all the time whenever we have leftovers.
Thanks, Michelle. That chocolate mousse looked delicious. Our final story centers on a remarkable milestone. When W.O. Wells Sr. first arrived as pastor at Coco's Greater St. Paul Baptist Church in 1959, parishioners paid dues in dimes and nickels. Wells challenged himself to get people focused on sacrificing more for the good of the church and the community. He met the challenge and ended up sticking around for 5 decades. Last week, his parishioners celebrated his 50th year preaching there. We visited with him at a recent service.
It's 50 years, man. My mind has been blown wide open as I look back and see from whence we have come. We have had tremendous experiences, but everything that we have experienced has helped us to know that the Bible is true, that whatever God said he was going to do, he's done it, and he's still doing it over these years. And yeah, to look back and see how we have gotten here, there are many, many memories, but I don't want to start because there isn't one that's greater than the other. The main thing that I am concerned with at this point is the fact that God has brought us safe for 50 years to the point that we can celebrate. We can say thank you for what you've done for us.
He has been devoted, he has been faithful. He has also done great works in Brevard County as a civil rights activist. He has done so many wonderful things in this community and statewide and nationwide. We look forward to celebrating with him, his family, and others joining in churches in the Brevard County area. We are so excited here at Greater St. Paul to have such a wonderful service for our pastor, and we look forward to many, many more of celebrations with him.
Clearly time well spent for Pastor Wells and his parishioners. So that's our show for this week, everyone. We'll be back next Tuesday with a deeper look into the people, stories, and issues of Brevard County. You'll also get a chance to meet more of our news staff here at Florida Today as we ask questions of local leaders, take the pulse of our community, and take you behind the news. For Today in Brevard, I'm Adam Lowenstein. See you then.